You spend so much time on your knees are bleeding. Get up off your knees and do the work. Ain't nobody gonna get in shape until you go to the gym and do the work. Everybody want money, but you ain't doing shit to go get it. Everybody want a better life for their career and their family, but you ain't doing nothing to go get it. I'ma go get it. It's about this is a game of survival out here, man. Like, I don't feel bad for none of y'all. I'm telling you, man, it's another level out here.
What if I told you this was the last Monday morning of your life? What if I told you die this week? Would you complain about your crap job or that test you don't want to take? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. Well, that's really what it takes. It takes understanding that if you're not pumped right now, if you're begrudging what you're about to do, if you're not looking forward to it, look, I respect practicality. You gotta go through school because your parents want to. You gotta pay your rent. You got student loans. I get it. But please recognize the world we're living in. We're living in a world where there's so much more opportunity. This internet thing created way more opportunity for all of us. Way more. I mean, look, you might not even be alive. Like, your mom and dad could have had sex like 3 minutes later and you wouldn't even exist and you're complaining. You could have ended up being a bus, a tree. I just don't get the mentality of being head down sad on a Monday morning. I'm gonna make Monday morning my bitch. I'm gonna make you Saturday Monday morning. That's what I wanna do every morning. And that's what I want from you. Please take a step back and think about how awesome it actually is. And then recognize that you can attack the world in a totally different way because you were lucky enough to be born during this era.
Someone told me that something is impossible, I will go out and do it. That's just the way I always was. I was told to my face, you're nothing but a giant muscle. You can't act. You have no future and you have an accent that is laughable. Ignore the naysayers. Work like hell. Trust yourself. Break some rules. Don't be afraid to fail. I've made a fortune in several careers and I've been very successful in several careers by believing in myself. Let me tell you, you're going to find the naysayers in every turn that you make. Don't listen. Just visualize your goal, know exactly where you want to go. Trust yourself. Get out there and work like hell and break some of the rules and never ever be afraid of failure. I couldn't have gone to one lifting event in my life if I would have been afraid of failure. Because of course there's a chance that you can fail. When you lift the weight, I tried 10 times to lift bench press 500 pounds and I failed, but the 11th time I did it. So never give up and never be afraid of failure, because otherwise you box yourself in and you limit yourself. You all should go and be hungry for success. You should be hungry to make your mark, and you should be hungry to be seen and to be heard and to have an effect out there. You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe. After all, what is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? The only way that I ever got any place was by breaking some of the rules. When you're out there partying, horsing around, someone out there at the same time is working hard. Someone is getting smarter and someone is winning. Just remember that. Now, if you want to coast through life, don't pay any attention to any of those rules. But if you want to win, there's absolutely no way around hard work. don't be afraid to fail. Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail. You can't always win, but don't be afraid of making decisions. You can't be paralyzed by fear of failure, or you will never push yourself. You keep pushing because you believe in yourself and in your vision. And you know that it is the right thing to do, and success will come. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, how many times have you heard that you can't do this and you can't do that and it has never been done before? I hear this all the time. As a matter of fact, I love it when someone says, no one has ever done this before, because then when I do it, that means that I'm the first one that has done it. So pay no attention to the people that say it can't be done. Just remember, you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in a pocket.
You can't know how you're going to conduct a war before the war starts. You can have an idea, but you can't know fully. Just like if you were to say, hey, my goal is to X in my life, you don't know how you're going to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, because you're talking about because you got to adjust.
Because you're going to make adaptations.
Yeah,
things are going to come up. Things are going to change. The battlefield changes. Your life changes. Things pop up. I mean, things happen. So I think that idea that you're going to know how you're going to execute something is far-fetched. I think actually, I should use the word idea. You should have an idea of how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You should have an idea like, okay, well, this is what I need to get done. Mm-hmm. This is what I want to achieve in my life. Mm-hmm. I want to do this. Mm-hmm. What's a simple one? I want to own a house. That's a simple one. That's a good place to start. Yeah. I want to own a house. Okay, well, let's think about how we're going to get there. You know, let's think about how we're going to get there. You have to build your credit. How do you build your credit? You have to borrow money. Some people they go to buy a house, they've never borrowed money before. You can't borrow money if you've never borrowed money. You can't borrow money for a house if you've never borrowed money for a car or some smaller object before. So you got to establish your credit. Then you got to have 2 years worth of income. Then you got to have a big fat down payment sitting ready. So there's things you got to do. There's things that now that might change along the way. The idea is that you got to move towards that goal. Yeah. But that's what was so nice about hearing the Vietnamese commander's intent. Get close, split them up. Yeah. Boom, you go make that happen. Yeah. Hey, guess what? You want to buy a house one day? Save money, have good credit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got to make money. How are you going to make money? You might make it driving Uber. You might make it delivering pizza. You might make it, you got your real job that's supporting your family, but then you need a little extra to throw in there. Well, that's why you end up driving Uber. You end up doing whatever it is you're going to do. You make some money on the side that you can start stashing away.
So you got to, in a way, you got to fill your life with a bunch of goals you don't get jammed. Because
if you have small goals that lead to the big goal, right? So for instance, you want to be financially secure and stable. What are you going to do? You're going to save some of your money. Okay, that's one thing. You're going to buy a house. That's another thing. You're going to pay off your car, and you're not going to buy expensive, dumb cars. You're going to buy cheap cars until you have the money to buy them with cash. You're going to make all these little things. You're going to work extra. You're going to do these things. So you're right. You have your broad goal. Yes. You have your long-term goal. Yes. And then you got your short-term goals that lead and are strategically aligned with that long-term goal.
I was watching the Olympics, the last Summer Olympics, and I was amazed at how bad the questions were that the reporters would ask all the athletes. And almost always, they asked the same question. whether they were about to compete or after they competed. Were you nervous, right? And to a T, all the athletes went, no, right? And what I realized is it's not that they're not nervous, it's their interpretation of what's happening in their bodies. I mean, what happens when you're nervous, right? Your heart rate starts to go, you sort of get a little tense, you get a little sweaty, right? You have expectation of what's coming, and we interpret that as, I'm nervous. Now, what's the interpretation of excited? Your heart rate starts to go, you're anticipating what's coming, right? You get a little sort of like tense. It's all the same thing, it's the same stimuli. Except these athletes, these Olympic quality athletes, have learned to interpret the stimuli that the rest of us would say as nervous as excited. They all say the same thing. No, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. And so I've actually practiced it just to tell myself when I start to get nervous that this is excitement, you know? And so I used to speak in front of a large audience, and somebody'd say, how do you feel? I used to say, a little nervous. Now when somebody says, how do you feel? I'm like, really excited, actually. And it came from just sort of telling myself, no, this is excitement. And it becomes a little bit automatic later on. But it's kind of a remarkable thing to deal with pressure by interpreting what your body is experiencing as excitement rather than nerves. And it's really kind of effective. It makes you want to rush forwards rather than pull back, and yet it's the same experience.
There's two kinds of rugby players, boys. There's honest ones, and there's the rest. Okay. The honest player gets up in the morning and looks himself in the fucking mirror and sets his standard, sets his stall out, and says, I'm going to get better, I'm going to get better, I'm going to get better. He doesn't complain about the food or the beds, the referees, or all these sort of things. These are just peripheral things that weak players are always complaining about. The dishonest player. If I tell a player he's too high, or he's not tight enough, he's too fucking high. He's not tight enough, and that's it. And I'm the judge, and not the player. And we accept that, and we do something about it. Coached Lions teams before, and we've complained and carped about this, that, and the next thing. And I liken it a bit to the British and the Irish going abroad on holiday. The first thing they look for is a fucking English pub. The second thing they look for is a pint of Guinness. And the third thing they look is a fish and chip shop. The only thing they accept is the sun. They don't take on anything that's good or decent or different abroad. If we do that, we're sunk. If we don't go back bitching, we don't go back carping, oh, we've done it this at Twickenham or Arms Park or Lansdowne Road or Murrayfield. No, these days are past. What's accepted over there is not accepted over here. And it's not accepted by us, me, and you. From now on, the page is turned. We're in a new book. Different attitudes. We're honest with ourselves. And in many respects in the forward play, and let's be fucking honest, we've been second. We can match them, but only if we get it right here and right here. 2 weeks. There's battles all along the way. There's a battle on Wednesday, there's a battle on Saturday, there's a battle next Wednesday, and there's a battle the following Saturday, there's a battle the following Tuesday, until we're fucking into the big arena. The one we were there on Saturday. By that time the fucking Lions have to make them fucking roar for us. Because they'll be baying for blood. And let's hope it's fucking Springbok blood. We're focused. From now on, kick gloves are off. It's bare knuckle fucking stuff. And only at the end of the day will the man who's standing on his feet win the fucking battle. Selection for the test team is the easy bit. You have an awesome responsibility on the 8 individual forwards' shoulders. Awesome responsibility. This is your fucking Everest, boys. Very few ever get a chance in rugby terms to get for Everest, the top of Everest. You have the chance to do. Being picked is the easy bit. To win for a line, for the Lions in a test match, is the ultimate. But you'll not do it unless you put your bodies on the line. Every one jack of you for 80 minutes. Defeat doesn't worry me. I've had it often, and so have you. It's performance at last. If you put in the performance, you'll get what you deserve. No luck attached to it. If you don't put it in, and you're honest, then it's second rate. They don't rate us. They don't respect us. They don't respect you. They don't rate you. The only way to be rated is to stick one on them, to get right up in their faces, turn them back, knock them back, outdo what they can do, out-jump them, out-scrum them, out-ruck them, out-drive them, out-tackle them, until they're fucking sick of it. Remember the pledges you made. Remember how you depend on each other. You depend on each other every phase, teams within teams. Scrums, liners, ruck balls, tackles. They are better than you've played against so far. They are better individually, or they wouldn't be there. So it's an awesome task you have. It'll only be done, as I say, if everybody commits themselves now. That was written yesterday about us. Read it silently, take note of it, and then make a pledge. You are privileged. You are the chosen few. Many are considered, but few are chosen. They don't think fuck all of us. Nothing. We're here just to make up the fucking numbers. The weak point is the strong. The box must exploit this weakness. The box must concentrate on the 8-man shove every scrum. Scrummaging will be the key. Their weakness is the scrum. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to find your own solace, your own drive, your own ambition, your own inner strength, because the moment's arriving for the greatest game of your fucking life.
No one can live without a routine. You just forget that. If you guys don't have a routine, I would recommend, like, you get one going, because you cannot be mentally healthy without a routine. You need to pick a time to get up. Whatever time you want, but pick one and stick to it, because otherwise you dysregulate your circadian rhythms and they regulate your mood. And eat something in the morning. I've had lots of clients who've had anxiety disorders. I had one client who was literally starving. Very smart girl. There was very little that she liked. She kind of tried to subsist on like half a cup of rice a day. She came to me and said, I have no energy. I come home, all I want to do is watch the same movie over and over. What, like, is that weird? And I thought, well, it depends on how hard you work. You know, it's a little weird, but whatever. It's familiar. You're looking for comfort. So I did an analysis of her diet. It's like 3/4 of a cup of rice. It's like, you're starving. Eat something, you know. You'll feel better. So she modified her diet and all her anxiety went away and she had some energy. It's like, yeah, you gotta eat. So a schedule, that's a good thing, man. Your brain will thank you for it. It will stabilize your nervous system. With a bit of a plan, that's a good thing.
Number one, your life happens in 5-second windows. Number two, in 5 seconds, you can control what you think, you can decide what you're going to do, and you can change absolutely anything, which changes absolutely everything. And so the 5-second rule is a mind trick. That's all that it is. A fancy way to call it is it's a form of metacognition, but it's basically a hack. It's a cheat code.
Okay.
And the way that it works, and this is the challenge with getting it out there, is that it sounds so profoundly stupid, like a gimmick, that it took a while for people to actually take it seriously and to really stack up the science to make, anybody that interacts with it go, holy this actually works.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. Basically, the moment you catch yourself hesitating or doubting or starting to worry or about to chicken out or shrink or shut up or whatever it is that you're about to do that is shrinking your power, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What happens when you do that? Don't do it out loud because it'll scare somebody. Like a psycho and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm talking. Yes, exactly. No.
My turn.
Yes, exactly. By counting backwards, the kind of cheat code that you're doing in your mind is you are interrupting what are called habit loops that get encoded in the central part of your brain, and you are starting up the prefrontal cortex. It's a little trick that causes focus, and it's a lot like having a mantra because you're shifting gears, but the thing about having a mantra is, and I suppose that as you count backwards more and more and more, you become used to it, but it becomes a habit that triggers action. So what you do is go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut off this part of the brain, awaken this part of the brain, and then move. And what happens with the counting backwards is there's nowhere to go after 1. And your mind is socialized in a count-down situation to go. And so counting up won't work because you can keep going
forever.
and you do it in many aspects of your life, so it's actually not something that requires any focus.
Whether it's Jocko, Willink, you mentioned, retired Navy SEAL commander, used to be in charge of all West Coast training for the SEAL teams, which is intense. Highly, highly decorated. Whether it's Jocko saying discipline equals freedom, or you look at, say, some of the writers or musicians or directors or others in the book, across pretty much all of them, you find that they find freedom in constraints. So what does that mean? Sounds kind of weird. Also sounds very, sounds like an oxymoron, right? And what I mean by that is all of these people have routines. They have set recipes that they repeat on a daily and weekly basis so that they are not making a lot of extraneous decisions about mundane things. And they also recognize that we all have our lesser selves, our impulses. I love chocolate croissants. If I left my entire schedule to whim, I would just eat chocolate croissants all day long. I love them. They're incredible. And I still do have them once a week. I have my cheat day and I'm allowed to do what I want. So I let my monkey mind and my lesser self just go nuts. But these people all have typically, these are folks we might be inclined to think of as superheroes. And maybe Jocko's a superhero. But the vast majority have 1 or 2 strengths. They might not even be the best in the world, but 1 or 2 strengths they combine in a really unique way. And they build habits around those strengths. And then they have 1,000 other weaknesses. But the habits and routines are what help them from going off the rails. And this is really encouraging. This should be really encouraging because the people we see on magazine covers that we might idolize and feel we could never possibly emulate because they have it all figured out, they have no insecurities, they wake up every morning and with a mental karate chop, they just master the day. That's not how it works. I know these people, almost everyone in this book, certainly on the podcast. I've become friends with hundreds of these people. Not true. They have tons of, not everyone, I don't want to speak for everyone, but tons of neuroses, tons of terrible self-defeating habits. And the safety net they create is habits and routines. That's why Jocko, in part, says discipline equals freedom. Okay, so you have trouble waking up in the morning? No problem. You want to stage it. This is something that Jocko does. Takes his clothing, prepares, gets his sort of coffee ready to brew, clothing on the floor for the workout, right next to his bed, prepared the night before. So there are no decisions, there are no opportunities to make mistakes between him opening his eyes and Jocko working out. And you find this across everybody.
what does it mean to be a wholehearted person? You have actually, a list of 10 different qualities that wholehearted people have in common. And so cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think, that's the first one. Let's talk about that.
It's so hard. I thought doing this research, going into it, there were authentic people and inauthentic people. Mm-hmm. I did not find any evidence of that at all. What I found is authenticity is a practice, and you choose it every day, sometimes every hour of every day. And it's a practice. It's not, I just wake up and, hey, I'm authentic. It's that when you walk into a meeting, you have to make the choice. Am I going to show up and let myself be seen? Am I going to raise my hand and say, wow, y'all look super excited. I don't know what in the hell you're talking about. I'm so lost. That's a choice.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And to make that authentic choice, you got to let go of
the fakeroo, I say.
Yeah.
I call it the fakeroo. But you know what? I have found, I consider myself to be an authentic person, but when I am inauthentic is when I've allowed myself to be around people who were not, and then I have to fake it to be with them.
Oh, for sure. It's contagious.
Yes. So they're faking it,
yeah.
and you're in that situation when you do that, that kind of, you're laughing at jokes that aren't funny, you're pretending to be comfortable when you're not, and lose your own authenticity.
Yeah, and I do it.
So for the next 90 days, your first 90 minutes at work, make it focused on your single most important project. I'll repeat that again. For the next 90 days, the first 90 minutes of your workday, focus monomaniacally on your single most valuable project. I call it your game-changing move. So it might be creating a new piece of code that will revolutionize the marketplace. It might be a new product that when you launch it will fill a need within your industry that no peer is currently providing. I don't know what your game-changing move is, but this is your poetry. This is your magnum opus for the next 90 days. So what most people do is, people who are playing at victimhood, people who are in the 95%, people who are making excuses about ordinary results in their life, a lot of them are not doing the things that would give them legendary results. And what they do is they get to the office, and rather than using prime time for activities, they use their best hours watching dancing cats on whatever it is, whatever the video platform is. They spend their best hours surfing the internet looking at blogs. They spend their best hours playing with notifications, reading notifications, chatting with friends who are not really their friends, but really they're just bored, so they're distracting themselves, which is just a form of medication because potential unexpressed turns to pain, and they're in a lot of pain, and it's subconscious, and they haven't done the work to know it. So really, they've created these drugs of choice, like too much email, too much web surfing, too much chit-chatting, too much looking at funny looking videos that make them laugh in the moment, that make them feel happy and give them a short burst of dopamine and maybe a little bit of serotonin, which is the pleasure neurotransmitter, and that's how they get through their day. And all I'm saying is there is so much distraction available to you out there that if you are not acutely careful, it will dominate your days. What I'm really trying to say is this: a ritual for you to run and dial in and hardwire to the point of automaticity, that's the word the researchers use when a habit becomes your new normal, over 66 days, is the 90-91 rule. And to give it to you again so you really remember it, for the next 90 days, your first 90 minutes, create a tight bubble of total focus so that no one can distract you. Turn off your devices, put them in a little plastic bag, put some reminders on your door, maybe some Post-it notes that this is my tight bubble of total focus for the next 90 minutes. Tell your team, tell your loved ones, maybe put a do not disturb sign on your door. They'll laugh, and explain it to them that for the next 90 days, I will spend 90 minutes away from distraction, away from technology, away from interruptions, focusing on my magnum opus, focusing on the genius project that I want to bring into the world, because I will never mail it in. I will always bring it on, and I'm going to do this for the next 90 minutes, and I'm going to optimize it and iterate it every day, and I'm going to bring my full bandwidth, because what makes a genius, they all have one trait in common: they were able to spend extended periods of time in isolation, focused monomaniacally on their most valuable project.